Hello, thank you for joining us at Peace Through Action USA. Today we have our featured Peace Builder interview with Cara Fogarty at the Nonprofit Institute at CSM. We are Peace Through Action USA, and if you haven't heard about us, we are mission to achieve peace between people and within communities in the United States of America by promoting caring action. We activate and equip Americans to implement practical, peaceful solutions to aggression and violence in their communities and our country. Our mission activities contribute to the advancement of a nation abundant with peaceful people, applying peaceful practices and creating peaceful places. So today, for our Peaceful Leaders featured Peace Builder initiative, we have an interview with Cara Fogarty. So this interview is really an expression of our belief that all of us can be peace builders. Very few of us will reach the heights of Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Desmond Tutu, but each of us can do something for peace. So that's going to be the focus of our conversation today, and we're happy to have you with us. So thank you for being here, Cara.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. So I guess we'll just start off by, can you just share with us what it is that you do at the Nonprofit Institute at College of Southern Maryland, and maybe just describe the nature of your work?
Sure. The Nonprofit Institute at the College of Southern Maryland is a community-facing part of the college, and we are a resource for any and all nonprofits in the three counties of Southern Maryland. That's Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's. We're also a resource for people who are looking to start nonprofits. We are also a resource for people looking to volunteer with nonprofits. So we are nonprofit everything and anything. I like to say that we are tiny but mighty. It's just myself and a half-time person and a quarter-time person. We also offer training classes through the Department of Continuing Education. They are one-day, half-day classes, and they a range of topics of interest to nonprofits: fundraising, grant writing, marketing communications, boards, all kinds of things. And we run an annual conference. In fact, we're going to have our 13th annual conference on April 20th, and it'll be the first time we're in person in 3 years. So we're pretty excited about that. Excuse me. You're going to have to edit this out. I'm getting over bronchitis.
Okay.
So sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, it kicked my butt. Anyway, so basically the Nonprofit Institute is a free service of the College of Southern Maryland and working with nonprofits throughout the Southern Maryland region. We do charge fees for our conference and our classes, but consultation and resource sharing, that's all free. We also run Zoom calls. We started a community call with the onset of COVID. We did that every week for about 6 months and then dropped to monthly. And that's for anyone involved with nonprofits. And then we have Zoom calls for executive directors, PR marketing folks, fundraising, and volunteers.
Wow, it sounds like you are a real force in the community. You deal with a large variety of constituents, it sounds like, and kind of relating with these organizations all across the board, really.
Yes, all across, from the nonprofits that are large and established and have been around for 40 years to, an all volunteer organization that maybe started last year and everything in between.
Wow. Do you have any kind of key insights from your work about how to start a project and, bring a vision to life?
As a nonprofit, you mean?
Yeah, as a nonprofit.
Well, one of the things we tell people is that you are stronger together than you are as an individual silo. And so you may have a lot of nonprofits doing similar work. And if they get together and collaborate, they can be much stronger and have more of an effect in the community. So
Mm.
that's one thing we do. And we've seen a lot of that since the onset of the pandemic. I mean,
Oh,
tremendous
interesting.
collaboration. Mhm.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think that was just due to that kind of compression of resources and challenges as far as funding goes, or you know, what do you think that
All,
might be credit to?
all of the above. I think at the very beginning, when everything shut down, our first community call, we had over 100 participants. We were shocked. But really, everybody was kind of like in panic mode, right? The whole world. And what do we do? Our events are canceled. We can't raise money. How
Mm,
are we going to, continue serving our constituents? How are we going to continue raising money? And so there was a lot of collaboration, sharing of ideas.
mm,
And really it was out of necessity. Let's move outside of our established um, constructs, if you will,
mm.
and see what's possible. And we've learned that anything's possible.
I love that. And these lessons are applicable for people who are not really just wanting to start a 503c nonprofit. We can begin these types of works, or that using that lesson that you just gave of collaboration could apply to so many fields, and just engaging in your community, trying to cross those boundaries that we don't really even know are there, um, until circumstances might reveal them to us. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could even apply to a neighborhood,
yes.
people coming together within a neighborhood to do something.
Mm.
So, mhm,
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that.
sure.
Before we talked, we had a little bit of a brief introduction with each other, and you mentioned that you'd been kind of thinking about how to organize your thoughts about what you do as a peaceful practice. And I'm curious to hear maybe some of your reflections on, in what ways do you think that the work that you do promotes peace in your community?
Well, like I said, I hadn't really thought about the work I do as peace building. So I've been giving it a little bit of thought, and I do see it in that we're helping nonprofits be stronger, helping nonprofits, up their game, shall we say? And then the ripple effect is stronger nonprofits makes for stronger communities, and it helps them do their work, and nonprofits fill the gap. In an ideal world, we wouldn't need them, but they fill the gap. That government or whatever doesn't provide. And so, if nonprofits in a community went away, ooh, I would hate to think of the effect. So, whether it's just helping somebody with transportation, helping somebody with some medical care, it's all about being kind and helping people, and really, that's peace building.
Yes, yeah, it's like strengthening these bonds, these interwoven relationships that we engage in every day. I love how that you're in some ways kind of helping to like galvanize, from a kind of macro standpoint of how the whole community can kind of collectively flourish. That's amazing. I love that. So in your personal work, was there a turning point for you when you determined that this was the kind of work that you wanted to get into? Was there a moment where you kind of had a vision of this project? Because it sounds like you said you're a pretty small team, which I imagine is most likely a labor of love. Um,
Um, yeah, I guess what happened was, so I started my career as a journalist, and that's public service.
mm,
Um, I like to say journalists are the forgotten first responders.
oh, wow.
Um, yeah. But journalism is a calling, it's a public service, and I've done well and done right,
Yes.
um, and life circumstances led me to give up that because I couldn't take being a parent, working full time, and commuting an hour plus each day.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the career and gave it up
Hmm.
and decided to see what I could do. And I found a job with an organization, a nonprofit in St. Mary's County. And it afforded me the ability to work remotely. And we're talking, this is 10, 12 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So I had a lot of flexibility. And because of life circumstances, I really needed that.
Mhm.
And I found I really enjoyed working for this nonprofit. It was small, and you may have had a job title, but you did everything.
Uh-huh.
That's how nonprofits roll. Everybody pitches in wherever. But I
Yeah.
really, really learned about a lot about nonprofits. Um, and I believed in the mission, and there was just everything about it was great. And then it just was a natural evolution. I had been involved with the Nonprofit Institute since its inception as a nonprofit, and it was just a natural evolution to land at the Nonprofit Institute.
Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's
So it's public,
interesting. Oh, sorry.
again, it's still public service, it's just in a different form.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I find it interesting how maybe your work as a journalist and framing it as a public service. I've never even really thought about it that way, but that's a great perspective on it. I can see how that may have informed your work later and what you're doing now. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't set out in college and say, this is what I'm going to do. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people end up, just sort of following the different paths that present themselves. But yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to be a journalist for the wrong reasons, then they're not about public service. But the people for whom it's a calling or a passion, it is a public service. I mean, there's a lot of low wages and long hours and holiday work, and you have to really believe in what you're doing to do
Definitely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious if you had some words of advice for someone who wanted to contribute to their community and they wanted to see, some real changes and some action taking place in their community. Do you have any pieces of advice that you might offer someone?
Mhm. So you can volunteer with an organization, and that time and talent is so valuable to any organization. A lot of people think the only way they can contribute is by giving an organization money. That's not true. Time and talent, meaning your skills and your time, are in some ways can be more valuable than a monetary donation. So my advice to people is, what's your passion? Are you passionate about the environment? Are you passionate about animals? Whatever it is, health and human services. Find an organization and just visit their website and click on the volunteer link and just get involved. Take that step, make that contact, get involved. Most organizations will welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You could even serving on a board. That's a way to volunteer.
hmm.
Helping with an event is a way to volunteer. There's so many, so many opportunities.
Yeah, it's interesting how um I'm trying to think about how to say this correctly. Donating money is a form of energetic contribution and exchange, and it's always welcome and happily received. But also, it's great to remember that we can be philanthropic in our effort as well, and the energy we put out through our own expertise, and so many of us in the community have our unique range of skills. And I think that's really exciting for people who may feel like, I'm an artist. I don't know how to contribute to, or I'm really good as a accountant, but what does that have to do with, and there's all sorts of things that you can contribute, which I guess is a great segue into this event that we're going to be running this week. And we're really excited to have Cara present with us, which is an event about volunteering, called Meeting Others, Volunteering to Foster Peace, where we'll be meeting on Thursday at 7:00 p.m. to 8:00 p.m. to discuss the instrumental role of volunteering in promoting and sustaining peaceful communities. So this is just a really kind of perfect, Cara's a perfect person to have speak about that. So Cara, I guess here we're going to close, but I wanted to ask you, at the end of every interview, I ask for a fortune cookie. If you could write a fortune cookie to someone like we just described, who, wants to get involved in some kind of work with nonprofits or some type of community activism, what if they were to crack open a fortune cookie, what do you think would be the fortune that you would most want that person to read?
Something along the lines of, it begins with you. Take that first step, make that phone call, send that email, make that contact, and don't hesitate and get involved.
Great. Yeah, that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much, Cara. We're thrilled to have you, and it was really exciting to learn about your life and journey and the nature of your work. I think what you're doing is really commendable, and I love that we have someone thinking about the community on a broader scale, because it's easy for us to get into these silos of, I really care about this particular process, public health is super important to me, but then kind of, and I think maybe this is our postmodern predicament in some ways, is that intersectionality of all things, where, public health is also related to education, and education is related to community building and resources and all of these things. And you have this really kind of impressive ability to look at things from a wider angle view. And with that, we're also really excited to continue partnering with you, because I think having these relationships with younger and developing nonprofits, to be able to kind of learn from both the successes and kind of mistakes of other nonprofits in the environment too, is really great. I personally kind of see your work as kind of stewarding the ecosystem in a way. You're kind of like creating a habitat for all of us to really like do well. So thank you for your work there.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.